Hi, I'm Tracy.
And I'm Jessica,
And this is She's on Top.
the community that celebrates women and shares great advice.
Today we're talking about time management, and we have seven fantastic tips that we have found through research, through talking to our experts, and also what works for us.
And here's the first one.
Okay, I am the worst at this. When I wake up, the first thing I do is I reach for my phone and I check messages, I check Instagram. I have this silly little word game, this little Scrabble word game that I play on my phone for like 20 minutes. It's crazy.
I don't have as much of this problem right off because I actually don't even keep my phone in my room. It's kind of a rule I have. Like nothing is in my room. It's a place where I sleep. It's kind of like a sacred space. So I have it in my office plugged in and that's it. So I actually have to get up to answer my phone. The other reason too for me is if for some reason someone texts in the middle of the night and the light goes off, it would wake me up.
Yeah, very true. So the research we did said that the first 2 hours of the day, you should actually, or not even the first 2 hours, when you wake up, the first few things you should do is you should meditate. You should write in a journal. If you've had dreams, write your dreams down. Maybe stop and sit and have a nice tea or a coffee and do some breathing. And don't look at your phone for that first little bit when you wake up. Just concentrate on yourself and the breathing exercises.
So that one I actually do, but let's talk
Good
about
for you, not me.
Yay, me. So let's talk about the second tip though. So I wouldn't say I necessarily do, I don't know, it depends on how you define creative work because I don't get on my phone, but I do get up, I watch the news, I have my cup of tea, I kind of futz around, and then I take the dog for a walk before I start working. I will sometimes sort of get on Facebook or you check our YouTube, but I would say when I walk the dog, sometimes to me that is creative because I get a creative download. But you're very productive in the morning.
Yeah, and I think what they're referring to too is not so much, I think actually the walking the dog is a good stuff. I think that goes back to point number one, which is the first hour of the day, just to, you walk the dog, you can do breathing.
It's a kind of meditation.
It's kind of meditation. I think what they're really referring to is when you sit down to work, some people, the first thing they'll do is they'll answer emails, they'll get busy, they'll get distracted. Like, might go on Facebook and start looking at Facebook. They're saying those first 2 hours, don't do any of the stuff that's like the technical stuff. If you're writing a script, write your script. If you're doing some creative work for your project, do that creative work the first 2 hours and save the answering of emails, the checking your social media feed, do all that sort of like later on in the day. That's sort of what I got from it.
It's basically, truthfully, it's about focus. And I mean, I find one of the easiest things for me if I want to stay focused, which you're different about, but I don't get notifications on my phone or on my computer. They don't pop up. So if I'm writing or working on something, I don't get a pop up if I get an email, but you do, right?
I do, which actually takes us to point number 3.
So I am actually doing that right. And
yes, she is.
Now, I would say I'm the reason that I do that is I do have a little bit of an ADD personality. I'm a little bit of those, squirrel. I can get easily distracted or go off and look at something. So I actually have to do that. Otherwise, I would circle all over the place and not come back. So I need it. Maybe you're a little bit more focused than I am. That's me being generous.
Yes. No, but it's actually a really good point about controlling your inbox and just setting up a time in the day where you look at your emails. It's from, 11 to 12, and then you shut it off again and you look at it again from 2 to 3. And I know some people say, well, what if a really important email comes through and I miss it? I think if you're on a work thing and you can obviously keep your computer open and you're checking for emails, but otherwise people can wait 2 hours. There's no emergency that they can't wait a couple hours to get a response. So that's a really good tip. And if I'm going to have my notifications, which means that we will never answer anybody's emails ever.
Okay, I have tried to-do lists for a very long time, and I always get enthusiastic, and I do think there's something great about writing things down because then I'm not worrying about forgetting them and having it swirl around my head. I actually have a little notebook that I carry around in my purse, but as you can see, it's mostly blank because as much as I try and do to-do lists, I start and then I end up dropping them.
Yeah, I find it's really effective when you put stuff down on the calendar. We actually had a discussion yesterday about we have so much going on that we have to be really, really scheduled. And so we sat yesterday and we put everything in the calendar for the week, like when we're answering emails, when we're doing our vlog, when we're, prepping for our next shoot. And last night I actually went to bed kind of like calm because I know when everything is going to be done. I'm not worrying about checking a to-do list, and my calendar will just pop up and tell me now it's time to do this. So I really like that advice. I think it's better than having bits of paper everywhere, those to-do lists.
The trick with putting things on the calendar is you have to look at the calendar because I am constantly asking Tracy things and she's like, it's on the calendar. So that is, put things in the calendar and then look at the calendar. That would be my little extra brilliant expert tip.
Or notifications. On your calendar, you can have notifications that alert you 15 minutes before. So just an example, we had to shoot the vlog today and the camera equipment was at Jessica's house, and she said to me before she left yesterday, can you remind me to bring the camera equipment? So I had to make a note to myself on my calendar to remind me this morning to remind her to bring the camera.
I actually put a post on Facebook yesterday and it said people who are highly forgetful, it's a huge sign of intelligence. So basically,
yeah.
I'm a genius. Which leads us to, what is it, tip number 5?
Tip number 5.
Okay. This, I think, is something that we have gotten a lot better at because there's 2 of us, but we really struggled with at the beginning because I think at the first you're so nervous about everything being even, or one person can feel like, oh God, I'm doing all of this. Like Tracy's much more technical and she did a lot of the research about the equipment to buy and all that kind of stuff. I'm not technical. There's other things that I'm good at. I actually, I'm organized in certain areas of my life, so I ended up taking on the bookkeeping. So
Thank goodness.
So at the beginning, it's hard because you're trying to figure out if it's even, but actually you realize trying to make somebody do something that they're not good at, and I remember this as a television producer, is a huge waste of time because they'll procrastinate, they won't get it done, and you're much better to divide up the chores that you both don't want to do, but also just realize, I'm good at this, I'll get it done, I might as well do it, they'll do something else.
Yeah, true. And also, I mean, yes, we're partners, we take on roles, but at the beginning we thought we would edit our videos too, and we took an editing course, and after like day 2 of the editing course, we realized we just couldn't do this. First of all, it was too much, we weren't technically savvy enough to do it, and so we're like, we need to get an editor to do this. So that again was delegating. Maybe you don't want to spend the money, but you do have to think about things you're good at and things you're really not good at and you don't like to do. You have to delegate and maybe be prepared to spend a little bit of money to do those things. Otherwise, it takes away from your own great things, your own creativity. You're too exhausted to do what you're actually good at. It's
really about putting a value on your time, right? You have a really high value for certain things that you do, and I like, it really comes into as you try and scale up your business, because the things at the beginning, I think you do everything. And then if you're trying to grow, you actually need to, if you're running a business, you need to focus on the growth of the business and be totally focused on that. And that sometimes means giving away all the daily, finding another way to do some of the daily minutia or hand it over. Because otherwise you never focus on growing the business. I'm rambling a bit here, but you end up like a hamster in a wheel, just trying to keep this thing going, and it doesn't get you anywhere.
It doesn't. Anyway, we'll end the rambling and we'll go on to point number 6. Is that right? 6. So now that you've managed your time, you have to know when to stop, and that's really, really important. In fact, one of our first few interviews was with Joanna Track, and she said that she shuts off every day between 4 and 8. But I think it's really, so she can be with her son, but I think it's really important to know when to shut off. It's very easy, especially when you're on this world, to stay on social media. We work, Jess leaves, I can sometimes be on YouTube, commenting, liking till like 9, 10 at night, doing it all weekend, and I think you have to say, it's 7 o'clock or whatever the time is, I'm shutting down. I'm not opening the computer unless it's to watch a movie, because you will never stop working.
And I think it's really tricky actually too if you love your work because you enjoy it. So it's actually easier to like look at Instagram and Facebook, and because you enjoy it, you don't necessarily shut down because maybe you're not thinking of it as work, but you still need to shut down. I really think it's important for your creativity, whether you realize it or not, you need to like switch that button off.
Absolutely. And here's the next tip.
I think this is probably the most important tip of all, is take care of you. And what happened to you recently, Trace?
Yes, well, recently, well, I've had a series of things, but most recently I put my back out, and I think I just put my back out from just doing too much. And you do have to take care of you. You know, you have to take time to go to the gym or go to a yoga class. You know, like we said at the beginning, do some breathing, do some meditation. Just take time to do nothing. And I think I was just trying to do too many things, and so I ended up pulling my back. And as a result, we lost a week. We couldn't shoot do a video last week. It actually really affected the business. Whereas if I just slowed down and took some time for myself, it would have been more productive.
And I think it's hard sometimes too, because we can all find excuses. Like Tracy and I have different kinds of life. Like Tracy has a partner, she's got kids, she's got a busier life on the weekend. I have more free time on the weekend because I don't have a family. I have a fur family, that's it. I got a furry dog. But so whether you are single or whether you are married, you still have to make that time. You have to create your own boundaries, because otherwise we can be busy all the time.
Yeah, and it's not even just the time, it's also taking care of yourself, like eating healthy, making sure you get enough sleep. When you're an entrepreneur and you're running a business, you have to really think about those things. You can't be burning the candle at both ends, and you have to eat healthy. You have to try to go to bed at a certain time, especially in the week. It may sound really boring, but if you don't do it, you will burn out. So it's everything. It's shutting off and taking care of your body inside and out.
Yep, you know, there's always that expression, you can't draw from an empty well. Elle Lindquist talked about this. When you are on social media, you are putting out all the time. So you need to put something back in. So those are the top 7 tips we found. And if you could implement just 2, what would you guys pick as your top 2? Of all the 7 that we shared, pick 2 and let us know which 2 you think are the most important.
And alternatively, if you have a tip that you think we've missed out, we'd love to hear about that too. So let us know in the comments below if you have another tip that we could use.
Yep, and make sure to subscribe. And if you found this useful, share it with your friends. And follow us on Instagram.
And Facebook. And if you like this video, remember, give us a thumbs up.
See you next time.